today we are drinking some Carlsberg.
Yep, welcome to episode 3.
Yep.
I think we've kind of settled on a name. We seem to be calling it A Flood of Content.
I would hope so, because we made the thumbnail for it already.
For 3 episodes will be now. So we hope you guys checked it out on the audio-only version. So episode 1 is already up, and that's available where you usually get podcasts, I guess. So
yep.
Apple Podcasts.
Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you already know where to find it.
Hope so.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you are not so into the video version, then yeah, the audio version's out on the usual podcast
That's right.
places. We got a pretty sweet logo.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, VHS.
Yep.
A little bit color spacey.
Color out of Spacey.
Color out of spacey, sorry.
Yep, a little bit of Kevin Spacey.
I was thinking as I said that.
Maybe not so much Kevin Spacey.
The colour certainly went out of Kevin Spacey in the last few years. Drinking Carlsberg today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carlsberg. It's similar to how, like in the States, Corona is kind of considered
PBR.
a nice import beer. In Japan, I kind of guess Carlsberg is considered a nice beer.
It's like you see it in like restaurants serving European style food, and they say like Carlsberg beer from Europe, like it's like a high class beer.
Okay.
But in Carlsberg, it's just a regular beer. I
Yeah.
think.
It's kind of bland.
It tastes a bit like a knockoff Heineken, I think. And it almost has that smell, right? The Heineken smell. It comes in a green bottle as well.
Yeah, except Heineken is much, much, much better.
It smells a bit like Qingdao, the Chinese beer. You know what I mean?
It tastes closer to that than it does
Yeah.
Heineken. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. Heineken is probably my favorite beer.
If you go to Amsterdam, you should check out the Heineken Brewery exhibit, where you can sit in like a attraction, they call it, and you put on like a seatbelt, and this Dutch person says, "Now you can know what it is to be bottle in factory." And on the screen, the bottle's going along this, like, what do you say, this factory line, and then the sheet like shakes with the bottle.
Sounds like that.
That's it.
Sounds like the alky version of Willy Wonka's.
And then if you're like me, you go to the beer tasting room, and all these like Chinese girls who went there sightseeing but don't drink give you all their coupons, and you drink like 8 beers.
Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, it's interesting when you go to a bar. They're like in Japan. You know how like bars are like, this is a Suntory beer bar. They only have Suntory mods, or they only have Super Dry, they only have Kirin. Like the bar is almost like not sponsored by them, but they have a deal with one beer supplier.
Gotcha.
Whereas in England, you just have this like ridiculous line of beers, which is like 30 beers.
Yeah.
In Amsterdam, it's the same. You go into like a place and it's either Amstel or Heineken. Like you never see both in the same place.
It's very interesting. I would say America is more like how it is in England. You go to a bar and they'll have,
All these taps, right?
yeah.
I went to this Amstel bar and it was like kind of entering like someone's living room in Japan. They got like a sliding door. Anyone could just smash through any time to steal all their money. And he had on the bar counter all like the full-size pints, half, and then like a mini glasses. So you just basically choose the glass size. You don't choose the beer, you just say a big one, a small one, or a medium one.
That makes it pretty simple.
And their taps are actually very wide. So it comes out, you can do like a whole one in like 3 seconds. Just go shoo, like that. And then they've got like this like scraper thing. They just scrape off the foam. It's served to you in like 5 seconds. Like even the big one.
Sounds oddly satisfying to see someone scrape the head off
Yeah.
the glass.
It's like very like, they do it like really fast.
Anyway, speaking of Heineken,
Speaking of Heineken, where could this go?
I went online to look up like vintage Heineken bottles the other night. And like, I don't know when it was, maybe like in the 70s or something. They had a very interesting, like, square Heineken bottle. Think like the like Suntory Gakubin bottle, like the square bottle. But imagine that like green tinted glass, and as a beer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool.
It looks really satisfying to hold.
Interesting. Like the E in the Heineken logo is like supposed to look like a smiley face.
Really?
Yeah, they designed it to look like it's smiling. 3 E's.
I can't even like picture the E right now.
It's like slanted up, like diagonally up, so it looks like a smiley face.
So today, on A Flood of Content, what are we
3.
talking about?
Thought we could start by talking about Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
As we both watched it this week, right?
We did.
It kind of came up in the first episode, I think, of
Yep.
the show. We decided we'd watch it separately and then talk about it.
Yep.
You'd never seen it. Obviously, I'd seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I went back to it, rewatched it. I watched number 2 as well. We're not going to talk about that though. You said you, privately said you were surprised by it.
I was surprised how, low budget it felt.
Interesting, because when I watch it now, I feel like it's low budget, but it's well shot. He's using the budget quite well.
It felt like a made-for-TV movie.
Really?
While I was watching it. It's not at all what I expected. I expected something more like Friday the 13th or Halloween or another 80s slasher. Like that kind of film. But it wasn't that.
I think the prosthetic effects are pretty cool in that film, though.
Yeah, they are very cool.
Yeah. Very well done, especially when he's coming out of the floorboards. I don't know if we have to go into the story yet, but basically the main character is taken to hell after he opens the box, right? Mm-hmm. The cube.
Yeah.
The dark Rubik's Cube, I like to call it.
On that note, they didn't really go into much detail about why he wanted it or how he came about it.
That whole opening scene kind of reminds me of the Exorcist opening scene a little bit.
Kind of, yeah.
He's in Iraq in The Exorcist. In this one, he's obviously in a Middle Eastern country, and he's meeting some guy in a cafe. It seems obvious that he's been exploring. He's been trying to find this box for some time. And in the very last shot of the movie, somebody else is at the same table getting the box. Mm-hmm. So it's this guy is doing some kind of business or something, giving out this box, or he's in on it with the Cenobites. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the whole dark Indiana Jones explorer in Iraq or something vibe is very similar to The Exorcist.
I got Indiana Jones and The Exorcist wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that character, I forgot his name. He was the brother character.
Frank,
yeah.
Uncle Frank.
Come to daddy.
Frank.
He's kind of portrayed as this, I don't give a fuck about anyone.
Right.
Person.
Yeah. He's a horrible dude, right? Yeah. Obviously, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Strangely about that actor, I feel like he's a much better actor when he's a skeleton than when he's a full human.
Yeah, that is true. Is it the same guy in the costume?
I don't know. I don't know. I assume so. But he's really bad when he's just himself, right? He's very corny, cheesy kind of actor.
Yeah.
But when he's actually the half-formed skeleton, half-formed him, he's a better actor. He's scarier. His accent becomes more British when he's half-formed as well.
He did something. Anyway, yeah.
British accents are aplenty in the movie, right? So Julia is a British actress.
I found myself wondering, why he would seek out that cube. Why would he want it? And I kind of seems like he's the kind of person that wants to always find the extremes in life.
I think he seems to be a sadomasochist kind of character. He gets off on extreme pain. Mm-hmm. So he's looking for like the worst kind of pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even when he's like pulled apart, his soul is torn apart by chains, he's still like smiling. He's almost enjoying it or something. Like he's like a demon.
Right.
So there's definitely something like sexually off about him, right? Yeah.
Well, as we can see from many scenes in the movie, he is a very sexual character.
Yeah. And very desired character, it seems.
Surprisingly. I guess there's somebody for everyone.
Yeah. Like a dark, sadomasochistic Indiana Jones, in a way, right?
Other than like the tone of the movie, which surprised me, I was also surprised to learn that Pinhead guy, is that really his name?
That's his name, Pinhead, yeah.
Pinhead. He's not the main character in the first one.
No, I guess he's on like all the covers, like DVD covers, posters, etc. Because he's the most visually striking character in the whole thing.
I kind of like the dude without the neck. The really jolly dude, like he's
not the chattery teeth.
That guy's pretty good too.
I mean, they're all very like sadomasochistic, right? They're all wearing like black leather.
They're all very like Tim Burton monster.
Tim Burton monster in like a dodgy sex dungeon or something. Like there's something sexual about them, right?
Yeah.
Like you would see in an underground club or something, right?
Exactly.
They're all very 80s. They all wear black leather and they have like like blue skin. And, yeah. Only really Pinhead seems to have much of a personality too, right? The others don't have much of a personality.
Yeah, they're more like background ghouls, I guess.
Ghouls would be a good word. Ghouls. Did you have any like standout observations about the movie? Like anything like really stuck out to you? Well, you mentioned that it was kind of surprising. Like you mentioned the low budget, I guess.
For how much it's like thrown in with the category of other like 80s horror movies, which tend to be slashers for the most part. It doesn't really seem to fit in with those at all. No.
But then again, it's Clive Barker, so he doesn't really fit in with anyone, right? He has a very distinct voice, I think. It's very, unique, right, for that.
Honestly, it felt more Cthulhu guy.
Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu.
Lovecraft?
Lovecraft, sorry.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, it felt more Lovecraftian than it did like 80s horror to me.
Lovecrafty and a weird like sex vibe that you get from it. It's very like erotic movie.
When I said made for TV movie, I'm thinking more like romance,
Yeah, like a 80s romance novel or something.
Yeah, like a trashy romance novel / Lovecraft.
There's a lot of like affairs or hidden romance or like things we're not supposed to talk about, like behind curtains kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And like 80s romance novel covers, very big hair too. Like Julia's hair. How much hairspray did she use in one day?
Yeah, that's another thing that stuck out to me in the movie was her fashion.
Her fashion, yeah.
Like, even at the time, like, when did that come out? Like, late 80s?
Yeah.
86, 87? Was that even in at the time? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember. I was alive then. So her hair is like Gorzu from Ghostbusters, right? It's like very big hair, super like sprayed.
It's really out there.
Very striking makeup.
Yeah.
You got like the shoulder pads, right?
Yeah. Jeez. Shoulder pads.
Bright red nails, bright red lipstick.
Yeah.
I like how she wears dark sunglasses in the bar as well.
Yeah.
Again, the guy she picks up, British dude.
That family, they like moved from...
I don't remember, like so basically it follows the main couple. He's obviously remarried. His daughter comes into it. I'm guessing her mum passed away, right? It's kind of implied. There's a lot of like she has some resentment or she's kind of skeptical about Julia, I guess.
Yeah.
But they don't have like such a bad relationship. Like, but as she starts to realise something dodgy is going on, she becomes very suspicious of her, right?
Yeah.
And then she catches her in the act of actually bringing guys back to the house. Little did she know why she's bringing guys back to the house. If only were that simple. But well, they move into the house, and the husband, he's like, "We're so lucky to get this house, this beautiful house. Isn't it amazing?
It's
like infested with cockroaches. Yeah. It's a dump. It's horrible." Frank's just been like tearing it apart, I guess.
Like
he's
sleeping
been
on the floor, like on a mat.
It's like he's been squatting in it, right?
Yeah, squatting, exactly.
Yeah. But it's his house, we find out. There's that scene, he goes in the kitchen and it's like all this like rotting food on the table and cockroaches.
Like maggots in something like in a pizza box or something like that.
I wrote in my notes, "This house is a shithole!" Exclamation mark. And big hair, I wrote in my notes too. Yeah. Those two things stood out to me rewatching this. I guess we should also mention the bug guy.
The bug guy.
The guy in the daughter's pet shop. He comes in, just eats bugs. The homeless guy.
Oh yeah.
The bug guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That totally slipped my mind.
Really? Yeah. So there's a scene in the movie where the daughter, she's working in like a pet shop, I think, right? And she turns around and there's this homeless dude. You actually see him earlier in the movie, like he's following her and another guy after a dinner party, and he's like peering through this like doorway. He reminds me a bit of the "God, I liked" guy from the Twin Peaks new Twin Peaks series. He's like so like dirty, just his white eyes like peer out, right?
That's funny. I kind of got reminded of the dude from the director of Get Out, his more recent movie.
Us.
There's a dude in Us, like at the fairground. Like he's wearing like a band shirt or something. Has the same kind of creepy vibe.
I saw it once. I don't remember that guy, but yeah, he stuck out like that.
Yeah,
white eyes.
He appears later on in the movie too.
Definitely a very striking guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she turns around and he's just like reaching into this like tank of locusts or something, just like munching them down.
Yeah.
While staring at her with these. Like,
and she tells him to like get out.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah. As you do.
Yeah, I tell him to get out. I guess later it turns out that he's actually like a hell creature, right? He's like a demon. Like right at the end of the movie, he becomes like a winged serpent kind of thing. Or it's in the second movie. I'm hallucinating.
I don't recall that, to be honest. I'll have to go back and watch it again.
Well, what's funny about the second movie is like the first 15 minutes of the second movie is just a flashback of all the scenes from the first movie.
Huh.
I guess they just didn't have enough material to make like a 90-minute movie. They're like, we got 70 minutes. So if we just tack on 15 minutes of flashbacks, we can get it to 85 or something. Yeah.
I'm curious, is Hellraiser 2, like, does it have a higher budget?
I think it has a higher budget. I mean, it does have... They actually spend most of the movie, like, in hell. And there are a lot of, like, pretty grand sets.
I mean production hell, right?
Production hell. No. Hell.
Oh, the real hell.
The real hell, okay. Yeah. Maybe it's in production hell, I don't know. But a lot of the sets in Hellraiser 2 seem like, big paintings like they did in the 80s, like background paintings, matte paintings, yeah. In New York, in the slums. Street trash, yeah. Can get pretty far out. So.
In other countries, sometimes eat bugs.
They do?
Yeah.
Not like that.
Not like that. That's great.
In Hellraiser 2, we discover the origin of Pinhead, like who he actually was. Yeah.
And I have not seen number 2 yet, so
I want to do. But
yeah,
cool.
I kind of imagine like Pinhead would become more of a prominent character as the series.
Oh, he's definitely more prominent in the second one. So yeah, I think he does become a bigger character as it goes along. Yeah. I kind of like how they used the Cenobites in the first movie. They're just kind of very dark, sinister characters we don't know anything about, really, right?
Right.
So, kind of works, I think.
Yep.
Really, the focus in the first movie is Julia, I would say. Like, she's the main character, really. Right? Julia and Frank, like their relationship tells the whole thing.
Towards the end, especially, it's Julia that you're rooting for. It would be interesting to see I don't say this very often, by the way, but it would be interesting to see a remake, like a modern remake of that movie.
Well, they're making it right now, aren't they?
What? Really?
They are, yeah.
Interesting.
It's being rebooted, as is The Exorcist. 3 movies are already greenlit.
For The Exorcist?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's the Halloween reset director, David Gordon Green.
And I say that because The Exorcist, in my opinion, is like the scariest film of all time. If you were to remake that movie, it would almost definitely be a worse movie.
I've heard The Exorcist TV show is terrible, so...
There's a TV show?
There is, yeah. There's a TV show.
Like a recent TV show?
Yeah. I do recommend Exorcist Part 3. That's a cool movie. It has the actor who plays Chucky, the voice of Chucky. You know, he's also in Halloween. His performance is amazing. It's very different from the original Exorcist.
Right.
But it's directed by William Peter Blatty, who wrote the novel, the original book.
Interesting.
Yeah, Exorcist, Hellraiser, or greenlit. Texas Chainsaw Massacre just came out. We're going to watch it this week.
Yep.
Talk about it next week.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I watched that actually for the first time a few years ago.
The original is The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The new one, they cut the article off it. That's how you know they're different.
Yeah,
so.
That's what they always do.
It's like reverse Japan. The premium malts. New one's premium malts. I'm curious about it. I've heard like mixed reviews.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a pretty raw movie.
Very raw, yeah.
Like when you watch it, it kind of feels almost like home video to like an extent.
Like when it first came out, it was released on such like bad quality formats that a lot of people thought it was a considerably worse shot movie than it actually is. You know, if you watch it on the original VHS, it's so dark and low quality, you can't tell like how well the shots were composed. So yeah, the like modern formats of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you can tell like the shots were actually much better than they were originally. It's really interesting how when you clean up a film that much, you can really see what the director originally intended. I must have seen it the first time would have been when I was about 12 or 13 years old, so 25 years ago. And at that time I didn't have a DVD player in my room, but my sister had like a player and a TV above her bed, like a very small TV, like a 14-inch or something. And I think I recorded it on TV, actually, onto like a VHS cassette or something. And I decided that I was going to watch it in the daytime, because I'd heard it was so scary that I shouldn't watch it at the night time. So I watched it in like 11 a.m. or something in the morning, on like a no school day.
Sounds like a great way to ruin your day.
Yeah. Had a great time. I enjoyed it. But it was, yeah, very shocking, of course. Yeah. Really, like, the music gets me in that film.
Music I don't recall, to be honest.
It's not like music, it's just like background, like very subtle sound effects. It's very like dark kind of sound.
I guess the soundtrack.
Yeah. Did you know the grandpa character, like the super old dude, like trying to hit her in the head with a hammer? He was played like by like an 18-year-old kid or something under makeup.
That's insane.
Yeah. But now he's like old enough to be like that dude. He's like a grandpa now.
Do you think they put him in the new one?
I hope so.
It's possible.
How crazy is that? You became so old, you actually are the grandpa from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This week I watched some Japanese found footage horror.
Offhand, I can only think of like one found footage Japanese horror movie. It's not recent. It came out like in the early 2000s, I think.
I watched Occult, or Occult, by Koji Shiraishi. He also made a pretty famous found footage horror movie called Noroi. Have you seen Noroi?
It sounds familiar, but I haven't seen it.
Noroi means curse, I guess, in Japanese, right? That one is a very scary found footage movie that's kind of a mockumentary. Occult is newer, so Occult came out in 2009. Noroi came out a few years earlier than that, I think. Like, for me, Noroi is the scarier movie. Occult is certainly the funnier movie. It has some, like, black comedy in it. Yeah, it's basically a mockumentary. And the actual director himself is kind of the main character. So he's in the movie, and he's playing himself. So, like, the synopsis of the movie is Koji Shiraishi decides to investigate the paranormal with his filmmaking team. And of course, he gets pulled into the horror, so it's like a fake documentary. Does that make sense? Have you seen like a mockumentary before? Like this kind of idea?
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty clever. Like, I think it was used to better effect in Noroi, just because in Noroi the general story is scarier and the creepy moments just work better.
Like slow burn scary or jump scare scary?
I would say slow burn scary. Like, it's a bit like Blair Witch Project in like you think the film directors there's some kind of security between them and what they're investigating, but you soon find out that they're not protected at all. Like, they're kind of being hunted by it. They're the victims. They become the victims of the evil they're investigating.
Gotcha.
And Noroi is scarier because like they do like interviews with local people, a bit like at the start of Blair Witch Project, right? They interview local people and it's a bit creepy. But Noroi takes it to a whole nother level, and those people become like genuinely threatening to the crew, and they seem like real people as well. They don't seem like actors at all. I don't know if in the Blair Witch Project those people are actors or real people, but they certainly come across pretty like realistic, right? Like, just like people they met on the street kind of thing. Except for the crazy old lady they go see. She's clearly an actress, but
I can't imagine they would get a lot of professional actors for Blair Witch.
Right,
for those extra roles.
Yeah. Just people around the area or something.
Right.
So just a little bit about the story, I guess. So yeah, Koji Shiraishi decides to investigate a stabbing at a place called Myogasaki, which is a fictional town they made up for the movie, and it's like a seaside place, and these girls went there. They're not really part of the story, but they accidentally filmed like a knife stabbing at this location. 2 girls are killed and 1 guy is stabbed and he survives, and the killer cuts like a symbol into his skin and then goes over to the cliffs and jumps off. It's all caught on film. They briefly interview like the boyfriend of one of the girls who dies, and he shows like a creepy picture. Like a few months after she died, he's out around Tokyo and there's a girl in the back of the picture who looks like identical to his dead girlfriend. So he's like, my dead girlfriend's still following me around, or she's still alive. So it's got that very creepy use of photographs. If you want to see a really scary movie about photographs, Lake Mungo is a very scary movie. Lake Mungo. Mungo.
Lake Mungo.
Lake Mungo. It's an Australian film. And it's all about like ghosts in pictures and are they real or fake, or very scary film. Maybe we can talk about that another time.
Sounds very interesting.
Watch it in the daytime.
Fuck that.
Well, that's one of the few films that kept me awake after I watched it.
Really?
So, yeah.
That one?
That
Lake
one.
Mungo?
Lake Mungo, yeah.
Lake Mungo.
Lake Mungo, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's that.
It's like I think it's one of those films that another person might watch and think it's not scary, but there's something about it that like got under my skin a bit. That movie. Yeah. You could watch it and not think it's scary at all.
It's interesting how horror movies can be really subjective like that.
Yeah, right.
I'm intrigued. Hearing that you had an issue with it, I kind of want to watch it now.
I found that movie I found in the rental shop here in Tsutaya. Just
Really?
like
Okay.
at the end of the shelf. A bit like how they find the tape in the ring. It's like,
It's like that. Oh boy.
It's one of those things like you pick up and you just like don't think much of it, and then you watch it and it really freaks you out. You're like, I kind of wish I hadn't rented that now. So.
Really? Jeez.
Yeah. So anyway, the killer like cuts this symbol into this guy's skin, and it kind of looks like a tree or something with like a UFO or a sun above it. And they go interview the killer's father, and he says that his son actually had that as a birthmark, and he's had it since childhood. So he's like cut his own birthmark into this guy. And the guy who has the scar, the film crew like start interviewing him about his experiences since this incident. And he says he's been having daily miracles occur to him since this incident.
Doesn't sound so bad.
And they're like, he calls them tiny miracles. And they ask him, what are these miracles? He's like, can't tell you. I'd like to tell you, but I can't tell you. And they're like, if we pay you to record them with a camera, if we just give you a camera and you just take it around with you all day, and this happens and you film it and we pay you, will that be okay? And he's living in manga cafes, this guy. You know how people in Tokyo who don't have an apartment, they're super poor, they live in these like all-night manga cafes. I guess it's kind of difficult to explain to anyone who hasn't been to Japan before, but they have these places where you can read comics and like watch TV, and you can basically pay all night, and it's like cheaper than a hotel. But there's no bed there or anything. They sleep on the floor, I think. Yeah.
Or just like in a reclining chair.
Right. Yeah. Pass out with these like headphones. Yeah. So you actually see him like just asleep with these headphones on in this like reclining chair. Mm-hmm. So because he says he has nothing, he agrees to like take a camera around and film these miracles. And at first they're like a crisp packet like falling off the table, and then like more weird things start happening. Yeah. But it falls off like very suddenly, like that. Like there's no wind inside. It's like and yeah, gradually like Koji Shiraishi gets pulled into kind of the miracles and following this guy around. And he says he's been hearing voices since the incident, but he won't say what the voices have been telling him.
Oh, you're talking about the director now?
The director starts like spending every day with the guy with the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy who was cut says he's been hearing these voices telling him to do something. Of course, we eventually find out what they are. I won't reveal what the voices are saying, but he's probably going to meet his end pretty soon. Like a couple of really funny scenes. The guy is a total weirdo. He's like complete crazy, weird lunatic guy. Like
you gotta have at least like a tinge of weirdness to live in a manga cafe,
right?
Even if it's just a little bit.
He like goes to like this food court every morning, and he waits for his like job agency to call him so he can get like jobs like picking up trash in Tokyo. But most days they don't call him, and he's always asking the crew, "Oh, can I get a cigarette? Can I keep the pack? Can I sleep on the floor in the studio?" They actually let him sleep on the floor in their like headquarters for their film crew. Like in one scene, he's carrying this bag. He's got like bad things inside. I won't tell what he's got inside. And there's a random guy in the street, and he obviously senses this guy's up to no good. It's a really bizarre scene, but he keeps like trying to get his bag off him, and eventually he gets his bag back and he walks away and he goes, "There are fucking lunatics in this country everywhere." And just before the end of the movie, when his time is coming to an end, they go to Yoshinoya, and
as you do
with the director, like his final meal kind of thing. And Koji Shiraishi says he didn't order beef because he's worried about mad cow disease. Seemed the least of his worries at the time. So.
Yeah.
So there's some like black comedy moments to it. A pretty interesting part of it is another director. His name is Kiyoshi Kurosawa. He's a Japanese director, and he also does like horror movies. He shows up in the movie as himself too, and he like explains where the symbol comes from and everything. Made me think that Japanese horror directors just hang out together or something.
Yeah, they probably do. I mean, horror cinema in Japan isn't as big as it is like in the West, right? So I'm sure a lot of them do kind of hang out together.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
A lot of them are like very prolific. They don't make just one horror movie. They kind of focus on that. So yeah. I did watch a movie by Kiyoshi Kurosawa recently, a TV movie, but I guess we can go into that another time. Yeah. But yeah, if you're into like found footage, mockumentary, kind of dark stuff, then, and there's a very amusing depiction of hell in it as well. So yeah. Very trippy version.
Interesting.
Definitely not like Hellraiser.
Japanese hell and the traditional European hell are pretty different, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of the depiction of hell in the movie Hell, the movie named Jikoku, which is an old Japanese movie.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's very famous, right? Like the last 30 minutes are all in hell, and it's just scenes of torture and things. But it's like very colourful, very Japanese. Like depiction.
I've heard of that before. You may have told me about it.
Yeah. Interesting movie too. Yeah. In that movie, everyone goes to hell after they die getting drunk and get poisoned.
Hell yeah. Party hard.
Good way to go. Yeah. They did party too much a little bit.
I had a question real quick.
Okay.
The movie you just talked about,
Occult. Yeah.
Occult, is that available overseas? Or is that like a only domestic Japan release?
You can find it. Like Noroi is much easier to find, I think, because Noroi is the much more famous movie. But definitely you can get it. I would say don't confuse it with another movie he made called Cult, Occult, and Cult.
Are you serious?
Seriously, yeah. And the cover of the DVD is very similar as well, I think. But that's completely different things.
Sounds like he's trolling a little bit.
Maybe. But yeah, I think, Occult is the better movie. Yeah.
I've had this conversation with my wife many, many times, but she's dead set on the opinion that Japanese horror is not scary at all. She thinks Western horror movies can be scary, but Japanese horror movies are not scary at all, and they're
Cannot be scary.
in her experience.
Well, she's just never seen a scary one.
I don't think she has. If she had, she would have changed her opinion, I guess.
Even after like Ring, Ju-on, these kind of movies.
She doesn't find that scary at all. She specifically cites Ringu and Ju-on as not scary.
I don't find Ring scary. I find it kind of enjoyable to watch.
Me too. I've watched it many, many times just because it's an interesting story.
Yeah. I find a couple of scenes in Ju-on scary. It's scarier than Ring. Which American movies does she consider scary?
It's not even specifically horror movies that get to her. It's like suspenseful movies. I'll give you an example. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Psycho scary, really?
We couldn't finish the movie. We got to the point where the main character, took the money and she was driving away, and they got pulled over by the cop. And she got pulled over by the cop,
Oh, right, at the beginning of the movie. Really? Yeah.
We had to stop there because it was
too intense.
Too suspenseful.
Sounds like a very specific thing affects her.
Like people doing bad things. People doing bad things that can realistically be done.
Okay.
I'll give another example. We couldn't finish Breaking Bad either.
I wouldn't put that in the horror category too.
No, it's not horror. But it has lots of suspenseful moments.
Well, some people just find like action movie violence really terrifying. I've met people like that who can't watch Die Hard or that kind of movie. They just find the blood and the realistic violence, feeling actual physical violence.
Yeah, for me,
Scary.
it's supernatural movies,
Right.
like
yeah,
specifically Possession. They get to me, and secondly, it's like torture movies.
Yeah. Oh, like Saw, that kind of.
Yeah, or movies that involve some kind of like torture dungeon.
Mm.
You know, like Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
Like those things get to me.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's like ghostly pictures and buried alive movies that get to me. So,
Okay.
so don't watch Mandy is Missing if you want to sleep. But like for me, it's like very specific things scare me. But it's usually still images, not moving images that scare me. So Mandy is Missing has like really horrifying still images, and Lake Mungo has still images, and it's like creepy ideas that get to me.
Yeah.
The idea more than the actual visual gets to me sometimes, like the actual person's idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand.
People doing bad shit doesn't get to me at all. So people do bad shit all the time. So, yeah, it's part of being alive, isn't it? But the first 20 minutes of Psycho is very intense, for sure. Like the way it's shot, definitely. Like when the police officer does pull her over, it's like very like you're kind of on the edge of your seat, right? Is she kind of get caught or not?
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of scene that gets to her.
Like panic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
sure she feels like if the woman on screen gets caught, it's like she's getting caught.
Oh, right, yeah. I can understand that. But the actual character is not so terrible. Like what she's doing, really. Like, I know she's stealing money, but
she still has no idea about the whole Bates Motel aspect at all yet.
Jesus. Okay.
Like we got to that point, and we had to stop.
Well, maybe that part would scare her less than the beginning. Then.
Yeah, I think
What
so.
you're saying,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the real horror part of the movie. So yeah. After the shower scene, it's enjoyable or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway, speaking of movies that create a stress on your psyche.
Did you watch something?
Yeah, I watched Mother.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Cool movie. I dig it.
And all I can say is, in a nutshell, watching that movie gave me the same feeling as like hosting a party at my apartment back in university. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah. Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Stop doing that.
Exactly.
Like when the person's sitting on like the cabinet thing and all this water starts shooting out.
Yeah.
Get off there.
It's like,
And then they get back on.
yeah.
So
Get off the counter, you're gonna break it. Oh, it'll be fine.
they get off and just go straight back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that movie a lot. So
It was a good movie.
I'm not like a religious person in any way. Obviously, it's a Bible story reenactment, right? So
I didn't even pick up on that
really,
at first. After reading reviews on the movie afterwards, it makes sense. You know, especially how it like repeats at the end and starts from the very beginning.
yeah.
So, like the husband character is supposed to be like God.
Yeah,
I guess. My takeaway from the movie is just like a piece of like art, like a disturbing painting. It just imprinted deep stress on me. Well, that's how
I feel
like,
similar to that, right? It did stress me out when
It was
I
a
watched
movie
it.
made to give stress.
Yeah, it's like, especially the first time you watch it, it's very intense. I had a little trouble like falling asleep after I watched it, not because I found it scary or anything, just because it kind of left me wide awake. It was like so intense.
It's not a scary movie. It's just very stressful and very mentally and emotionally exhausting.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like having like a whole bucket of like cold water poured all over you before you go to sleep. or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's very visceral, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very visceral movie. Right?
Yep.
It's Darren Aronofsky,
That's right.
who you are a bit so-and-so on, right? So,
Well,
Requiem for a Dream.
yeah, I watched
Not a fan.
Requiem for a Dream. That's probably the first movie by him that I saw. I thought that movie was totally overrated.
It's a very highly rated movie. Yeah.
Very pretentious. Wasn't a fan at all.
Pi is his other movie I've seen.
I haven't seen
I haven't
that.
seen that.
I remember it being very heavily pushed at the Blockbuster video when I was
Pi.
younger. Pi. Yeah.
Mm.
I saw it a lot at the video rental store. Never saw it though. Anyway, afterwards, after watching Mother, I went on and watched Noah.
Oh, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, my wife is a fan of it, so she wanted to watch it again.
Okay.
And yeah, I can. Like, there were definitely like his DNA was in that movie for sure. It was an okay movie.
Noah's for me like a very like standard like Hollywood epic movie.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly visceral or impactful about that movie. I don't think it's kind of a lot safer than Mother for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Mother, like that movie goes off the deep end. Towards the end.
Good performances.
Yeah,
Very good performances.
by everyone.
Everyone's good in that. It's I don't know if it's supposed to be hopeful, but it's kind of depressing.
You don't really leave that movie feeling good at all.
But at the same time, I really liked how it left me with like a feeling afterwards. Like most movies you watch, kind of you forget them at the credits, right? And they just end.
Yeah, then by the next day you
Yeah,
like
it's
forget
good.
half of it. Not this movie.
No,
this movie
certainly
you
not.
will think about.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that movie for a few days after I watched it. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. It really does leave a bruise on you. So, yeah,
That's a good way to put it. It's a bruise.
it's a bruise movie. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I was reading online that it's one of the few movies to ever get an F score from Cinema Score.
Cinema Score was that?
Cinema Score it's like a survey kind of thing that some organization in America does before a movie is released, I believe, and they like let a test audience view it. The test audience will watch the film and then they'll like rate the film like from like A to F, like the American
Oh, I see.
like,
Okay.
school systems where
Right.
like A is good, F is like fail.
Okay. Yeah.
Typically, films that get high scores, like A's or B's, are films that the film and the expectations were in line.
I see. Okay.
And then, like, low score, cinema score films, people that give like a poor score to, are films where the expectation and the actual movie don't align.
Okay.
So they feel like
Interesting.
tricked, you know, like they feel like they were lied to going into the movie.
Okay.
Typically, horror movies get a low cinema score. The exception to that is like the Conjuring series. For some reason, always gets a high cinema score.
Well, because you know what to expect with those movies, right? Yeah. By that logic, Saw should have a very high score because you know what you're going to get when you watch Saw movie, right? So,
You would hope so. Anyway, apparently, Mother got like one of the lowest cinema scores. Like people came out of the test viewing of that like not very happy.
I don't know where did they get the expectation from?
I don't know.
Because I had no expectations at all going into it. I didn't know anything about it.
Me neither.
There was really not much information about it before it came out.
I was expecting like a suspense thriller. Wasn't expecting that.
I guess I'm kind of the opposite to that. Like, if I have an experience I didn't expect, it's more likely to leave an impact on me. So I'm more likely to give it like a higher score because I'm always looking for something that does have impact or power. Or something.
Me too.
You know.
Yeah. Of course, we're talking about the average moviegoer. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
People who like Adam Sandler movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that someone who orders a cheeseburger and there's like some jalapenos in there or something?
Yeah.
They get mad.
Anyway, yeah, great movie. Jennifer Lawrence was great.
Yeah.
It kind of made me like her more as
Yeah.
an actress.
Yeah.
And the dude that plays the husband, he's also in No Country for Old Men.
Javier Bardem. Yeah.
That guy is pretty awesome.
He's a cool guy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's good.
Good movie. Just feels like a bad dream all around.
Michelle Pfeiffer. It's about the last thing I saw her in, though. But she must be 70 now, around.
She's up there. Who else is in it?
Guy from Apollo 13 who pukes like his stomach out in the toilet.
Yeah.
Ed Harris.
Okay.
Ed Harris, yeah. And his son, one of them is like the red-headed guy from Ex Machina?
Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson. He's in
Domhnall Gleeson, yeah, that's it.
Ex Machina.
British actor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
I like him a lot too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of him.
Particularly violent scene with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still watch that temper.
Well, things escalate pretty quickly in that movie.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I really want to say about the movie. If you've seen it, you probably understand what I mean. If you haven't seen it, then I don't think we really spoiled anything, did we?
I don't think so. No.
The essence of the movie is that dread, stress feeling.
Oh, it's a horror movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horror movie, I think. Definitely, yeah.
It's not going to leave you afraid of ghouls under your bed.
No, it's not gonna make you feel afraid of supernatural or someone's coming to get you or something. It's more to do with
It's just going to imprint on you.
mortality. Also how terrible human beings are, I guess. Like what people will do.
Yeah, it's a good way to replicate a traumatic experience.
I think because a lot of it rings true. The message of not caring about the planet, mob hysteria.
It works on several levels, you know.
Yeah.
Feeling, feeling.
It's very empty. It left me feeling like everything is kind of pointless.
Yeah, the mob hysteria aspect, then the aspect of your partner feeling like your partner isn't there for you.
Yeah.
All these different types of stresses, all combined.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you have this very perfect tight relationship with that person, but they can flip a switch and become your worst enemy.
You go on IMDb and find out that they're God.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, watch it, but beware of the impact that movie has.
Yeah.
It's quite intense.
It's not a fun movie.
It's not entertainment, really.
No.
But
it's
kind of like an art exhibition.
That's how I viewed it. It's it's like looking at a piece of art.
A disturbing painting or something.
Yeah. It's meant to leave an impression on you. It's not a happy, smiley impression.
It's not happy smiling. Some people smile, but it's not happy smiling. Yeah. Yeah. As for Aronofsky's other movies, I am a bit so-so with him as well. Noah, I'm not a huge fan of it. It's okay.
I thought it was just okay.
I'd never watch it again. Don't have any interest to watch it again, to be honest. The Fountain is a terrible movie.
Really? I haven't seen it.
Requiem for a Dream, I probably like it more than you. I do think it's overrated. I agree with you on that.
It just seems so pretentious.
It is pretentious, yeah. I liked the Ellen Bernstein, the Exorcist, the mother from The Exorcist. She's the old lady in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like how she's terrorized by her TV and TV shopping channels. That was pretty good. I thought. When they just appear in her living room and they're like, "You're the winner. Come and get your prize," kind of thing. Like how tacky it looks. I thought it was quite well done. So the other stuff with Jared Leto just doing heroin was pretentious. So.
Yeah. That's mostly what I'm referring to.
Pi is kind of very pretentious as well.
I know nothing about Pi. Literally nothing.
I watched it a very long time ago, so I don't really have a strong memory of it. But it's very like a university student's first movie.
That's
art movie. Yeah. But it I guess people think it's like a Razorhead of
that level, really. Jeez.
Not that level. Nothing's that level, is it? But like a quasi Razorhead, black and white university students breakthrough. So certainly nowhere near as good as Razorhead.
It's in a class of its own.
What is? So yeah.
I guess next week we can pick up with other things we've consumed.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're going to watch the new one.
That's right, on Netflix.
Talk about that next week. Will Leatherface have chilled out? We'll find out. Did he find his inner self? Did he get over his childhood? We'll see.
Maybe he joined a book club and chilled.
Hung out with Sally. Sally.
Maybe he had some kids and mellowed out.
Somehow I doubt it, but yes.
Maybe he had a dog. No, he's just a peaceful dude.
Well, if that's what the movie's like, it's definitely getting an F because it's not going to match expectations from cinema or whatever it was.
That's quite right.
Well, this has been a flood of content, episode 3. Please check us out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Well, yeah, if you watch us on YouTube, please leave a comment.
All right, until next week.
Until next week. See ya.
See ya.